Nice try. Chinese workers know how to make unleakable standees, but the corporation orders the leaking one. It leaks, you buy more.
Why are things so cheap from China? That's a great question. It's cheap because there's a reason behind it. And typically people think like, oh, it's cheap because the labor is cheap. That's actually not true. If the labor is so cheap and that's the only reason the product is cheap, then why don't you go to the lowest labor rate? And China is not the lowest labor rate. To make something cheap, it's actually a very, very difficult thing to do. If you ever done product design or product engineering or manufacturing engineering, you understand how difficult it is to make something cheap. It is one of the most technical and sophisticated type of engineering and design to make something very inexpensive. In fact, if you can master that, you can make any kind of level of quality because you understand it very well how to make something in the least amount of cost and still deliver the product. So anyways, follow me if you want to learn more about how things are cheap and why you make it cheap. And to answer your question in the beginning, yeah, there's a lot of great quality stuff. If you drive a Lexus, it's most likely most of the parts are made in China. If you have an iPhone, you know where it comes from. Most of the parts are made in China, assembled in China, and designed in China too. So anyways, comment below if you want to learn more.
The difference is China uses slave labor and the United States has to pay people a livable wage. BYD is surpassing.
What the fuck is this white Westoid talking about? Dare to compare the US and China and call China a fucking slave state? Have you looked at the US Constitution lately, Westoid? Because slavery is enshrined into it under the 13th Amendment. If you have been convicted of a crime, you may be used as slave labor. Private corporations can profit off of your labor while you make maybe $1 a day, if even that. The US didn't abolish slavery after the Civil War. They simply modernized it into the prison system. The US is the preeminent prison state. They have 25% of the world's prisoners despite having only 5% of the world's total population, meaning on average they have 5 times more prisoners than any country on Earth. China has less prisoners than the US, not per capita, in totality, despite China having 5 times the population of the US. Guess what though? In China, they do pay livable wages. Their cost of living is so fucking dirt cheap that even if their wages are lower than the US's, which is what enables them to sell cars from BYD for such a low price, by the way, it's still a livable wage for Chinese people. China has a 93% home ownership rate for this reason, because their cost of living is so low and their wages are living wages. What's the home ownership rate in the US? Especially amongst the younger population, Gen Z and millennials. Please enlighten me. I'd love to hear it. This is why China will keep winning, while you will continue to cope and seethe in your shithole capitalist country. Like, are you even aware that the biggest workers' union in the entire world is in China? Not only that, the ACFTU is operated by the Chinese government. The Chinese government cares so much about worker protections that they operate the world's largest workers' union. Meanwhile, in the US, the self-professed most pro-labor president crushed a rail strike just before one of the worst rail disasters in American history that caused one of the worst ecological disasters in American history in East Palestine, Ohio. No, not that Palestine. You white Westoids will continue to cope and seethe from your shithole capitalist state while China will continue to thrive and to surpass you by every single fucking metric, while still being a great socialist nation, a great communist nation. Fucking cry about it, white boy.
Trump signals China's Xi has reached out about a trade deal. Xi is saying nothing like that. One of them is lying. But that's what the head of the states do. They lie. But also, as heads of the state of two of the biggest countries, they are also watched by all the other countries. And that is why China will not back down. Because somebody has to say no to the bully. Because other smaller countries, they cannot afford to. Vietnam has to come to negotiation. Even EU has to come to negotiation because the bully outsides them so much. But not China, thankfully. China is not weak. And China will say no, not just for itself, but for all the rest of the country. China is being responsible. As a big country, China has no ambition to lead the world, but it has the responsibility to act responsibly.
We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
All right, guys, the Chinese peasants are going back to peasant village. By the way, because of the tariff, if you guys have anything you want to buy and it's too expensive, let us know. We're going to China. We're just going to go to the factory and bring you back whatever you want, except for eggs. That's not allowed on the plate. But, you know, like, anything, let us know. See you in a bit. We're going back. Bye. We're going to party. I will remember our friendship.
I hope somebody would unfollow me if they truly support the kind of things said by Vance or Trump about other countries. But instead, I gained more followers. It tells me that nobody wants to follow hate. Thanks guys to let me know. Next week, the Canton Fair will open. It's China's oldest and biggest trade event. And this will be the 137th section. Today, Guangzhou had heavy rain, and I can't help but wonder, what will this year's Canton Fair be like under such a storm of trade war? I've already heard that many factories have stopped production, logistics companies are pausing operations. It's a really bad moment for all of us. But I don't believe globalization is over. And I feel so lucky to go through all this with all of you. I will visit the US again, and I also want to visit Europe and other parts of the world. My office is right next to the Canton Fair Exhibition Center, just over there. And I truly hope I can welcome you here in China someday. Love you all. I am Abe, your Chinese best friend.
Hello from China. Let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
Have you ever broken up with somebody and then you see them later on thriving with somebody hotter, richer, and more emotionally available? That's what's happening between China and the United States.
Oh my God, we have a child labor coming up. Look at that. Look at that young dog. I'm pretty sure this dog is not 18. So this is child labor. This is definitely child labor. A dog is dragging two ducks.
Hello, driver.
Child labor. This is not cool. This is not cool. No, you shouldn't do this. You're a kid. Man, what the hell? We need to find that company.
You know, some people are just really good at making up numbers. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying all workers are efficient or like really hard workers. But just like go work, go do manual jobs, and then come back with real numbers.
look, I'm just going to say at this point that the reason the American government has banned a lot of Chinese technology, such as phones and especially electric vehicles and whatnot, and other things, is because American technology, American corporations can't compete at all. They don't know how. They refuse to innovate. So they block innovation and keep releasing the same thing over and over again, like the iPhone. What are we on, 16 now? Same phone, basically. There's some software updates, some software tweaks, right? But it's the same phone, and they keep, more or less. They may occasionally update the camera, but they're always behind, let's say Samsung. Always behind. Samsung is usually far ahead and works much better. But if the Chinese were allowed to sell their goods here in a real free market, all of our stuff would be much cheaper because we would have to be forced to compete with them. And at the same time, all of our companies would be forced to innovate to stay on par, or they would fail, right? That's what the free market's all about. That's what capitalism is, right? And I'm just saying, the Chinese know how to work capitalism better than we do, or they know how to make it so that it doesn't harm its people, as opposed to, the oligarchs in this country going out of the way to exploit everybody, more or less. I'm just saying.
So, I was browsing around on X, or formerly known as Twitter, and saw this guy posting about the Chinese social score. And he took a screenshot of this advertisement, WeChat Pay 550, and he says, if your score is not above 550, you cannot charge a car and buy food from vending machine or do Uber. And I look at this ad and I figure, no, that's a really bad propaganda and a twisted way of saying this. So if you look at this screenshot, he intentionally put this part away. This is the 550, this is WeChat Pay, and this is a full sentence supposed to be you pay, you charge first, then pay. 先充再付. So he intentionally, so this is a charging station, by the way. This is a charging station. So he took a really tricky screenshot of this. Then what he did is wrong is he did not hide where the video come from. So I actually went to the Chinese Douyin. I found the video. This is their this is the charging company. They do all the chargers, like car chargers, whatever. And this is the full promotion video of the screenshot. It says 先充后付 means charge first, pay later. And they're literally promoting charge first, pay later. And the score is basically just like the credit card score we have in here, like the Visas, all that kind of stuff. So if you have a good standing with, you borrow money from Visa, you have a good score, then you can keep borrowing money. That means it's a trust system, right? So 550 is just a bare minimum, like normal level of WeChat. So basically, if you borrow money from WeChat, you have a score, then mine is like 600, 700 something. And most of people is about 550. But the only time if you lower, just like the Visa we have in here, you didn't pay a loan or you lay a loan, then your trust score went down, then you cannot charge first, pay later. You have to pay right away. Means you can charge and you just pay. So some of these, some of these guys on the Western media platform, they intentionally make this kind of false claim of this kind of stuff. It's really disgusting. So I just want to put this away, and maybe my TikTok people will take a look at this. Cheers, guys.
Hello everyone, my name is Shim. I'm Chinese and I'm new to TikTok. Today I want to show you my social credit score for this month. So every month our government would send us a letter with our social credit score. So I have already picked up the letter, but I haven't taken a look at the result yet. Let's look at everything together, okay? So let's see. So my monthly social credit score is this entire social credit score thing is a lie and a joke. I don't understand why people would believe it, but I think at least you wouldn't believe it from this point on after watching my video, right?
So this man told me to go back to China on my video from yesterday. And I laughed and I asked him if that's the only line he's got because, you know, it's like a classic for men who are like him. Go back to your country. That's like the only thing they know what to say to a person who don't look like them. And I do go back. I love going back. And I wish China's closer so I can go back more often. Do you think that justifies the brutality of the Chinese government? Denise, are you okay? I don't know what's going on with you, but you seem unwell. Like, how did you arrive at that conclusion? I have no idea. But again, seems like the only sentence you know how to say because just count how many times you've repeated that in my comment section. Is that your middle name? Is brutality your middle name? Is that why you keep repeating it? You have not stated any facts and you just keep asking if people are justifying the brutality of the Chinese government. You call anybody who does not agree with you a liar and you say that they are being paid by the Chinese government to spread Chinese propaganda. I wish I'm getting paid. You mean like TikTok? TikTok pays for people to spread propaganda? Like I only got paid for $1.61. You make fun of people who does not speak perfect English when English is their second or third language. How many languages do you speak, huh? Have you looked at some of the stuff you've said? It doesn't even make sense and English is your first and only language. Let me teach you some Chinese, okay? 驴唇不对马嘴，大言不惭，臭不要脸。
This show is going to have 100% tariff. Because I'm made in China.
This person said, I came to the USA, but I hate it, so I need to get out of here because I made fun of JD Vance for calling the Chinese people peasants. I mean, when I came here, Obama was the president. It's like I was promised Delta One, but somehow now I'm sitting at a seat next to the toilet smelling pee all the time on Spirit. Can you blame me for complaining? I didn't consent to this. I didn't choose this. Also, for the record, I did not come here because, quote, China is a terrible place to live. It is a communist country and a dictatorship. No, actually, I made a video talking about why I came here. Maybe that would be helpful to you. You know, all you need is a plane ticket to go see it for yourself. You don't need a visa now. You can just go for 10 days without a visa. You know, you can see it for yourself instead of just saying the same thing over and over again. China, communist country. Florals for spring, groundbreaking.
Wrong again, beloved. China doesn't need to sell this stuff to us, frankly. They already have the minerals. The minerals are in China. They don't need to, we need the minerals.
Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, they don't have money. They're not gonna buy your products, China. It's all gonna be... I want to be ninja. Hello? Bang Riley, hey, thank you for putting Malaysia on the map. Thank you for the reverse psychology marketing.
Who the fuck are you?
Terima kasih bang. Now ada banyak orang nak datang ke Malaysia untuk travel tau. Then they'll realize we are very prosperous one. Thank you Bang Riley.
Get off my phone, peasants.
Okay bang. Before I go, let's play one game. It's called One Truth, One Lie. Okay, first one, Malaysia is poor. Okay, second one, there's another pew-pew incident in Florida.
What?
So YouTuber guys, yang mana satu lie, yang mana satu truth, Judging by your silence, I think you tahu yang mana satu truth kan? Since it's a common occurrence, ma.
Shut the fuck up! Hang up the phone!
Okay, see you soon. And also let me know when you treat the injured, how much is the healthcare, okay, bye-bye.
You can try to spin it 17 different ways, but at the end of the day, China is the seller and the United States is the buyer. Think about that. All right, well, what is it that we buy from China? Much of what we buy from China is from our own US companies that are based in the United States, but we manufacture in China. And those US companies that manufacture in China, and when we try to get those products back to the United States for sale, are subject to Donald Trump's 145% tariff. And so he is tariffing our own US companies. And what does that do? Well, take a company like Levi Jeans, right? So Levi is an American-based company. They manufacture their jeans in China. And then when it's shipped back to us, they're going to be subject to that 145% tariff. It's going to increase the cost of jeans dramatically. It's going to hurt our US-based companies. Now, some people may argue, well, it's going to make our US companies bring manufacturing back to America. No, it's not. No, it's not. Especially when you have Donald Trump, who's so inconsistent with his trade policy. There is no strategy. 1 minute it's 35% tariffs. The next it's 145% tariffs. The next is no tariffs on electronics. No tariffs on this company. This company's doesn't have to pay tariffs. The guy has no clue whatsoever. He doesn't know what he's doing. There is no strategy. So if you are a US company and you're looking at this entire situation, why would you commit billions of dollars to restructuring your entire manufacturing back to the United States over a 4-year presidential term and over a president that is so inconsistent with his trade policy and has absolutely no strategy? You're not going to. So what's going to happen? Well, the consumer is going to end up paying a lot more for the cost of goods, and our US companies are going to suffer. That's why I predicted that Donald Trump is going to start removing tariffs, as he did with electronics, because people are going to get just way too fed up with paying a ridiculous amount for the cost of goods, at which point people do have a breaking point where they're just going to say, I'm not paying, I'm not spending that, I'll do without. And that's when you see companies go out of business, layoffs take place, negative GDP. That's when it becomes a recession. And so he's going to have no choice but to remove more tariffs from China.
Without United States, you have nothing, China. Yes, MAGA, we don't have child labor, school shooting, homeless problem, genocide, oligarchy, monopoly, crazy expensive yet inefficient healthcare system, heavy tax on working class, property tax every year, anti-Semitism awareness law, supremacy bubble you live in, built by multi-billion-dollar worth propaganda, a fake free speech, fake democracy. Yeah, you guys got it all. Also, we don't have MAGA.
What surprise? You visit your biggest customer. That's not a surprise. China is gonna buy more NVIDIA chips than anybody else, with the sanction or not. Also, I think what's in his mind probably is visiting competitors. Because of the sanction, the chips company in China is catching up with a speed that he's worrying all day. Because the next company that replace NVIDIA is gonna be from China. He knows that. And also, he might go visit his parents' hometown in Zhejiang province and see where his family come from. And you will understand what his loyalty lays at. It lays at the prosperity of all people.
Not all AI has to come from Silicon Valley. You've been told that the best models are American. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. The brand makes you feel like they're smarter, safer, more premium. But here is what most people don't know. A lot of the breakthroughs in AI are being manufactured, yes, manufactured in China. Just like 80% of luxury bags are made there. Made in France. Same leather, different label. OpenAI will charge you $20 a month to write a 5th grade reading level email and then say, I'm sorry, I can't help with that. And 200? Meanwhile, these Chinese models give me straight code and relationship advice, all in the same breath, without the moral policy. Imagine the same AI response, but the label on the page changed from OpenAI to Made in China. Does it feel less intelligent now? If it does, that means you've been brainwashed by the big tech companies. Buy direct, get the real thing, no filter, no fluff, from China.
Do you know why China needs US? And The reason is we're all connected. Like, you have to understand the world global trade is more connected than ever. China needs US as much as US needs China. And every single country is like that. We're living under one planet. That's how the world works today. That's how the world works in the future. We live on one single planet. The sooner or later you understand that, the more you can see past the hatred and the angry and all this craziness that we see. That's why I think it's more important than ever to share this love. And also, why making these posts? My plan was to create an OnlyFans, and this trade war got me all turned into another direction. So, and it's not my fault. I guess it's my fault because I know a lot about trade and supply chain and engineering because that's what I do. I'm really good at it. And I can't help but to speak my mind. But I'm going to go back on that OnlyFans account. So just stay tuned and follow me.
But anyways, this is what he came back with. He asked, what's the ratio of men to women in China? Now, if I have to take a wild guess, his intention with this question is to take a dig at China's one-child policy and that people perform gender-selecting abortions. I'm sorry to break it to you, but this is really not insulting to me. Frankly, probably not going to be insulting to any Chinese person because we can take criticism. We can take a constructive feedback. And maybe that is a wild and new concept to you, but I highly recommend because that's how you can learn. You know, that's how you learn from the past. That's how you learn from others, and that's how you grow, and that's how you be better. So I highly recommend you to do that as well. And second of all, this is old news. This is old news. This was once a very prevalent problem, and people didn't like it. So people took actions, and people tried to stop it. And it's no longer a very prevalent problem. We don't have one-child policy anymore. Also, it's illegal to tell the gender of the baby in China during pregnancy. Does it still happen? Yeah, it does. Because just because you have laws of something does not stop all people from performing illegal actions, as you might or might not understand that. But really, this is old news. Like, you're stuck in the 70s or 80s or something. Maybe come up with something new. And lastly, do you know how coveted women and girls are in this dating market because of the problem we had in the past? In order for a man to have the privilege to date and get married to a girl, you have to have a house, you have to have a car, you have to have a stable and good job. You have to have a promising future. You have to make good money to be a provider. Not only that, you need to know how to cook. You need to know how to clean. And you need to know how to treat women right in order for you to stand out in the dating market, in the competition. And you probably don't ever go to China because you wouldn't like it there. You wouldn't survive. Just stay here.
If you can find a country who lives off of $60 a month for 1.4 billion people, let me know. Let me know how that works, because I'd love to figure out how they do budgeting and how to do housing and all that crazy stuff. Because I just went to the mall the other day or the other weekend. I didn't even buy anything. And $200 later. Anyways, I need to figure out how I'm going to get this OnlyFans started so I can make some money. But let me know if you find a country that does that.
Marga, let me show you some bloody truth. What super ordinary Chinese living standard look like. I'm going to show you my neighborhood grocery market. I have done this on RedNote, and this time I'm doing this for you guys on TikTok. You will understand how hard your master doing you with no lube. Okay, and breaking your supremacy bubble is just simply fun for me. Let's go. First, let me introduce you some common sense about China. Chinese people mostly we live in these complex and apartment buildings.
And this is my home. I live in here by myself. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. And now I'm gonna go to the grocery market. I call it super ordinary because I don't want to insult the people in my neighborhood. But you guys, you can go ahead, just call us poor, no problem. Your vice president already called us peasants, so nothing worse than that. You go ahead, don't worry. And today is pretty cloudy. Before we get there, let me share some basic knowledge of China with you. China have 56 ethnics, 1.4 billion population, almost 700 cities. And my city is the smallest one. The economy, the population is all near the bottom. All the price here is in Chinese, and $1 equal about 7 Chinese yuan. You have to do the math by yourself. Even though I know it is hard for you, but I cannot put everything into your mouth. The whole street is full of these vegetables and fruits, all very fresh and very affordable. I only show you one store here. And meanwhile, I'm gonna share with you some hard wisdom. MAGA people feel proud of the US dollar is international currency. They don't know that is the #1 reason why US cannot produce by itself. All the benefits of being an international currency go to Wall Street oligarchs, not common people. In order to support the US dollar being dominant international currency, they have to push the US economy into a huge bubble. Just compare the ways US and China calculate GDP is completely different. One is bubble, one is solid. For the common people living in the US, the cost of daily life or US products, they are way more expensive compared to China. So for the last decades, capitalists have to transfer their factory to other countries to survive and make profits. US cannot produce itself because the cost is too high. No other country can afford to buy. In case your working class figure out what is going on, they have to build a supremacy bubble by smearing other countries with propaganda and lies to make other countries look terrible. Meanwhile, they do propaganda in developing countries, lying about how all Americans rich with human rights and all kinds of benefits to get the rich people, intelligent people, and the cheap laborers immigrate to US. But in reality, for common people, it is very difficult to living in that huge financial bubble, like almost 70% Americans living paycheck to paycheck. The world never needed the US. It is the US that needs the world. Don't even mention how many countries have suffered from Wall Street financial manipulation and how many countries have suffered from the US warmongering. That is also why US foreign policy and the CIA obsessed to create color revolution or divide other countries, like the lies about Xinjiang Uyghur or Tibet propaganda, Hong Kong riots, all paid by them. USA was never the good guy. It was never great. It is always the bully. The financial and the political system is fundamentally designed to enslave people. Meanwhile, they took all of your American citizens as hostage. I don't care about your MAGA, of course, but I care about the good Americans.
Now you see, MAGA, I'm not calling you dumb to insult you. I'm calling because you are.
Assume he's been just jealous because we have affordable eggs, we have affordable...
Is it jealousy or is it greed? We should all be mad that leggings were ever $100. We should all be mad that sneakers were ever $300. We should be infuriated that anyone saved up money for a luxury bag. We should be mad that eggs cost $15 for a dozen. Where did the profit go? Where did the markup go? It's not in my pocket. Is it in your pocket? Those people you called peasants supplied you with the goods for you to make the markup dollars, for you to make all that profit. Those leggings cost $2 to $5 to make. So that's 90 some odd dollars as profit, and you want more now? You can't be calling people peasants while you owe those so-called peasants money. It's just wild. You call them peasants while they were giving you goods for $2? Sneakers for $9? $30,000 handbags for $1,500? I'm not on anybody's side. I just want to live.
So a couple of days ago, some of my friends told me that if the trade war escalate, and they might remove the confidentiality clause, and that means all the IP gonna be free for all, and all the manufacturers can do whatever they want. 3 days later, all these luxury bags just having a free run right now. All the manufacturers just having a party right now. So I'm trying to say is, this looks like if the trade will keep going like this, and this is just gonna be the tip of the iceberg. There's gonna be more stuff coming out later.
China doesn't have social media. China doesn't have TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter. So who the fuck is on here posting?
I can't sit through another video of someone talking like they just discovered the word communist. First off, China doesn't have social media? Bro, what the hell are you talking about? We have WeChat, one of the biggest apps on the entire planet. Not just texting, we're talking about payments, social feeds, shopping, booking a doctor, all of it. You're welcome to Google that. Then there's Douyin, the original TikTok. Xiaohongshu, Weibo, the list goes on. And yeah, people in China can post on TikTok. When I go visit my family, I post when I'm there. And people in the mainland, they use VPN. Even some grandmas are on that VPN life. So what exactly makes you think no one in China could get online? Ignorance? Racism? Or just running your fucking mouth? You keep screaming communist country like that automatically means no internet. Do you even know what communism is? Or are you just saying it because it sounds scary? Then you pull this double backflip and say people are fleeing China for asylum, but they're also secretly loyal to the government. Which is it? Are they oppressed or are they spies? That sentence doesn't even make sense inside your own head. When people criticize US, it's because the US is doing something worth criticizing. That doesn't mean we love CCP. It just means we got eyes and a working brain. You as a black man should especially get that. This country has a long history of trying to strip away your rights. And you think calling that out is fucking treason? And you throw treason around. You ever heard of freedom of speech? That's literally the First Amendment. My guy, try reading the Constitution before you come online swinging your low-budget McCarthy cosplay. Bottom line, you don't understand how China works. You don't understand how America works. And you damn sure don't understand how the internet works. But thanks for the content though.
If that was true, then would they be homeless? I mean, if we figure out how to make homeless people work, or how to make them to be not homeless, that would be great. I mean, that would literally change the world. If you know how to, any country, please share that, because that's might be the most difficult thing to do.
China's going to be a rich and powerful country. No matter what we do, that's what we're going to have to deal with that. But we have to deal with the reality. What we cannot have is a world where China is so powerful we depend on them. And that's right now where we're headed, unfortunately.
You ever notice how people can't stand to see someone else win? Like, it doesn't matter if they're doing well. If someone else starts rising, they fucking lose their shit. That's what this Marco Rubio clip is. Just pure insanity. He literally says China's gonna be rich and powerful no matter what we do. And instead of saying, okay, let's step up, he jumps straight into panic mode, talking like building ships, military threat, Taiwan, the whole fear parade. Here's what pisses me off even more. Countries like China are trying to build a life for their people, invest in infrastructures, lift people out of poverty, grow their economy. That's not evil. That's what any country should do. But the US, especially under the orange Kool-Aid cult, sees that as a threat. They don't want a fair fight. They just want to be the only one at the top. That's why the orange orangutan slapped tariffs, threatened allies, pulled us out of deals. It's not strength. It's superiority complex. box. He doesn't know how to lead in a world where someone else might shine. And it's not just Captain Orange. It's the whole damn system. A country that built its power by rising up now bullies anyone who tries. If you're not kneeling to the US, you're probably the enemy. Here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. If your power depends on keeping everyone else down, maybe, just maybe, you were never that powerful to begin with. Let that sit and ask yourself, why does the most powerful country in the world act like it's scared of little competition?
He's not your revolution. I think he's still a real estate developer. If there's one thing I know about real estate developer, is that they love money. They love people who have money. And they love being around power. Let me ask you, why would someone like that work for you? You don't have the money, you don't have the power. All you had was one vote, and you already gave it to him. The vote became his stepping stone. He used it to accumulate the ultimate power. You've seen how he moves. His name everywhere. Hotels, golf courses, restaurants, even possibly on legislations in the future. His face is on flags, t-shirts, truck, like a brand. He works like a real estate agent. He pointed a piece of the land in the Middle East, and he already picturing a beachfront resort and luxury shopping district. That's how his mind works. It's not about serving the people. I don't think so. I think it's about building something with his name on it, legacy he wants. But look, I will give him this. He's really good at marketing. He knows how to sell the images. He made you believe that he's one of you. He was going to fight for you. He's gonna shake the system to its core. But in the end, I think he's just gonna do what benefits him and the people in his inner circle. I get it. You voted for him because you want some change. You want someone to take down the deep states. You want a revolution. You want a real change. But all you got was a different face on the same machine. A new pen job on the same old system. Because at the end of the day, it's not about left and right. It's not about left and right. It's about which oligarchs they are working for.
If people really believed in democracy, then why don't they just run their homes like a democracy? Like, I think the only time that I've ever lived in a household where we upheld a democracy is when I had roommates. And we would, like, vote on major decisions for the house, right? But even that was a loose democracy because when it came to anything else, like, we pretty much ran in anarchy, right? We did what we wanted. And the expectation is that we're going to respect one another in the process. But most people, if you told them to run their house like a democracy, they would just say no. And what's interesting is if you ask them why won't you do it? You get a pretty good sense of all of the reasons why democracy doesn't work. It's because people don't truly want a democracy. Or at the very least, they only want it to the extent that there's something that they can gain from it. Like if the votes are in their favor, sure, I'll take a democracy. But like, for instance, let's say that like I have a family in my household, like I have kids. Like, let's say that I have like a family with children in my household. A lot of people will say like, oh, well, we can't have a democracy because the kids don't know what they want. They can't make decisions for themselves. So you've already identified a second-class human being inside your household. Yeah. I understand what your reasoning is, but let's call it what it is. There is a class of human that lives in your household that you don't feel should have the right to autonomy inside your house. They shouldn't have a vote. They have no representation. You have established yourself or you and your partner as the dictators over the rule of the house. And see, that's really what people want. That's what they desire. They desire to be rulers of their domain. And if they can capture that rule through a democratic process, then they will agree to a democracy. But if not, to everybody, to most people, democracy is bullshit.
It may surprise you, but in China, public opinions really matters to the government. Here's a funny example. Someone in Shenzhen found a funny translated public sign. She posted it on Red Note as a joke. Later that night, someone passed by the same location and noticed that the sign had been fixed. The translation was corrected within hours just because of a viral post. Although I think they should keep it that way. It's kind of fun. Of course, Shenzhen is like one of the best run cities in China, but they still make mistakes, sometimes even arrogant ones. But the important thing is, they are constantly being watched and constantly being corrected.
Do you want to know the real difference between US political system and Chinese political system? It's not socialism or capitalism or like communism or all those different type of democracy system. It's performance. Like in US, my understanding and just my time living here and looking at it, because US politics is so popular around the world, right? How do you not know? It really is popularity contest and how much money you got, right? That's the two things. You need money to get popularity, and vice versa. You kind of get your power this way. In China, you basically have to perform. Like, it's not about how much money you got into it or like how popular or how good looking you are. Like, it's like you have to perform. Like, how many good stuff you have done, how many GDP you increase in the city, this province, and it's measured with numbers. And then you get promoted and you rise against the rank. You climb the corporate ladder, essentially. And I understand this now because I've been working in corporate for some time now, and I see it. I'm like, damn it. These people are climbing the corporate ladder are just like, it's like a popularity contest, and it just, not all of them, but like many of them are just throwing people under the bus, taking people's credit. They don't actually do any work. And then the people who are kind of on the bottom, they're actually doing the work, like actually doing all the work, they don't get promoted, and they are like usually the ones who get laid off and fired. And I see that, and I'm like, damn it, that sucks. And what I've been told, because I never worked for a Chinese corporation before, but apparently, comment below if you've done so. Or if you work in a Chinese corporation. I heard that in China, the corporations are set up like they really like praise you if you do work. Like if you're the person who actually deliver results and do good for the company, they promote you. They don't promote the person who is like, look at me, I've done this and that, and I threw this person on the bus, look at me. No, I don't think it works that way. So anyways, so just someone told me this recently. So anyways, comment below if you want to learn more. Or follow me, because I'm trying to do as OnlyFans. So like, help me out here. Yeah, sure. I can tell you all about it. Since there's so much censorship in US, you don't get to learn these things. So my dad grew up in what we call rural areas in China, like most people did back in the days. And still many people live in that area, I guess. It's called Nongcun. It literally means farmer village. So just think of it as everyone is a farmer, right? They're living not in a big city, so they have lots of land and things like that. My dad's a boomer, so that's the age I want to think about. I think during sometime like 60s and 70s, it was communism, right? So if you understand communism, it's they want to collect all the resources together, right? So as farmers, you essentially have to give your crops to the government. So he worked at he worked at the farm like everybody else, and if you what their main production was sweet potato. So sweet potato is the thing they do, but the land is poor. They didn't really have good tractors and things like that, so they don't produce a lot of the sweet potatoes. And at the same time, the government needed to collect a lot of sweet potato to share amongst the entire country. So they have like meet these quotas, right? Every single month and season. So all those sweet potatoes they farm, it all goes to the people. And he never gets to eat sweet potato, He grew up actually never really eating sweet potatoes because he just get whatever leftover. In fact, they would used to make this flour out of the sweet potato skin
and then make that into a dough, and then you steam it, and that's what you ate. And yeah, extremely poor, like rural China, you know. And then during, I think, the late 80s, sometimes around time, China went full capitalism. They're like, there's a famous quote. It says, I don't care if it's a white cat or a black cat, as long as the cat will catch a mouse, we're going to do it. So it literally means like, I don't care what works, make it happen, because people are starving. We need to change the system. So China went full capitalism. And my dad, I think he went back, I don't know, sometime early 2000s, I'm going to say, sometimes around that time. Went back to his, you know, we moved to Canada and we've been living here since. And he went back to China early 2000s and visited some of his, you know, family members in the farm in Nongchuan, in a village. And man, they were living a life. And his uncle drives at the time a brand new Lexus LS 430. If you know, it's like, you know, the Gucci and the top of the line Lexus car, and the village is doing really well. And you know, it's incredible to see that difference. Is it true for every single people living in a rural area? No, absolutely not. It's like saying everybody in America lives Manhattan or lives the Instagram life. No, it's huge. But the people in China who kind of went through this life, like they were literally, you know, starving when they were kids, and now they don't even know what to do with their money. So you can have that. And then at the same time, there are many people who are still struggling and just getting by, you know, and that's why it's so important, for the government to continue to kind of improve their life. And it was a lot to talk, but, now, you know, this thing about, social credit, right? Social credit is funny because I grew up in Canada. So like you hear, you know, we're also a little bit censorship by US propaganda. I heard about the social system where essentially like, I think the whole idea is that if you do good work, like you don't do stupid shit out in social settings. You'll get better credit. And if you're like, I don't know, doing stupid shit, then you have bad credit score. Therefore, you might even, I don't know, have less access to the social system you're in. I believe the system was implemented or tried to implement it a decade ago or something, like 10 years ago. I know for a fact that, cause I asked my, you know, friends and family who lived in China, and they don't even know about it, which is kind of funny. I was like, well, you guys don't know? You're being monitored and watched? They're like, no. I'm like, so you don't have a social credit? They're like, no. I was like, oh, okay. So clearly it's kind of like a pilot program, perhaps. I think the concept is interesting, right? Like if you have, like, I think you earn credits too. Like, if you see garbage on the floor, you pick it up and there's a TV or like a webcam that sees that you get some credit. If you're like, you know, doing bad stuff publicly, like, you know what, a lot of like violence and just doing bad things, you get negative credits. I don't know how they can really implement it. I think it's still in a very early concept phase, but the whole idea is like try to make China a better country, or citizen a better country, because a lot of that is lost. Like you think all people in China is nice and kind? No, we're just humans. I think generally we want to do that. We want to, you know, encourage the citizen to be as kind as possible and be as nice as possible. And you incentivize that or penalize if you can, right? It's kind of like getting a speeding ticket here, right? You sometimes you ask like, okay, officer, like, can you guys do some real police work? Stop ticketing me. I'm just trying to go to work. But at the same time, like, yeah, I probably shouldn't speed because it's very dangerous. So we penalize each other for it. Which reminded me, I think in Sweden, I heard about, they do ticketing or like speeding ticket to like 1% of your yearly salary or something. So like, you can have like a $10 ticket or like a $10,000 ticket, which is crazy. I don't know if that concept works really well, but I guess it does. So anyways, feel free to comment more if you want to learn more, because, you know, if you live in US, there's a lot of censorship. So you don't know what's going on. And I think we need to learn from everyone, to share this information and not be so hateful. So